Hello everyone. Today in What Makes This Track Tick, we take a look at the track Rijwiel by Keith Carnal. So before we get into it, a quick reminder, you can still download my Too Many Deform Kicks sample pack for free. The link to the download will be in the video description. And the second point is I have a new EP out on Ambiophonic Records called Stranded. These are a little bit more melodic tracks than what I release on my own label, Cortex Recordings. I thought they fit nicely on Ambiophonics label, and fortunately Ambiophonic agreed. I will link to that as well in the video description, and of course don't forget to like and subscribe. So let's get into it. Keith Carnal is a Dutch DJ producer. He had several releases on Arts and his own label Second Degree. This track, called Rijwiel, it was released on Arts in November 2017, already over 3 years ago. And it's one of his most successful tracks. I think it's a good demonstration of Keith's unique style, which I like a lot. So as a fun fact, the word Rijwiel is actually a sort of formal sounding Dutch word for bicycle. It's a little bit like calling a car a vehicle. So that is what a Rijwiel is. It's a bicycle. So yeah, let's get into it. I imported the track into Live, as I always do, and made all these dummy clips on MIDI tracks to illustrate what is happening when. And some of these clips are actually not dummies, but recreations of the parts. So I'll solo the original track. It's 129 BPM, and we'll just start at the start and see what's going on. So right off the bat, there's a kick, there's a bass, very low bass, a sub. Sounds a bit like a kick with some reverb on it. Then there's this quite dominant crackling sound, stereo crackling sound. There is this note, single note that sort of echoes a while. And I want to look a little bit at that bass first, because that is actually an interesting part, and it's something that Keith Carnal uses on other tracks as well, and that is a polymetric rhythm here. So basically this is not a full bar, but it's 3/4 notes. 3, 1, 2, 3. You can see the clip down here. And it has this rhythm shifting relative to the kick. And together I just quickly recreated this. It doesn't sound as big and low as the original track, but you get this effect. 909 kick sounding processed, of course, to sound a lot bigger. And if you listen to this sub bass, oh, jump to the end there, sorry. Also sounds like a kick, maybe with some reverb on it. So I sort of recreated that here. So that's the basic thing. And then after 4 bars, there's this very, I'll play the original. You can barely hear it, it's fading in. This, I think it's a timbale sound, so I recreated that. This rhythm here, and that adds to the groove, of course. And then after 16 bars, a single note again with a long sort of echoing tail, a simple 8th note hi-hat pattern, and this noisy thing coming in here, this sort of long loop fading in. So I made that a fade here. There's actually a lot happening in this part. I think there's some filter automation and stuff. I didn't. It sounds like a sample or a series of samples. Quite a long sort of loop, as I said, and not exactly sure where that came from. Might be some found sound or something. And there's some processing on there. I think some filtering that is moving. Can't be really sure, but it's fading in here. And then by bar 32, we get this single note again. And here, this white noise, sort of short riser. I'll just play it coming up to bar 33. And that repeats several times in the track. And then there's this other part starting here. I call it snaps. This is mostly pan to the right. And that's, you can just hear it sort of, snapping, tapping sound, which is complementary to the timbale sound. Okay, so that happens for a while, and then here we get a little shaker, 16th note pattern. And then finally we get to the main synth part here. So here we can hear very softly this simplified version of the main synth part coming in. There's an open hi-hat, a 909 that starts here. We'll have a reverse cymbal as a riser later on. You can hear the filter opening. This, and I recreated this. I'll show you in a bit. Meanwhile, a high pass on the kick drum and the bass, the sub bass. The reverse cymbal here, and the filter closes again. And I'll just quickly play. So I recreated this. The sound is not identical, but just to give you an idea. Very simple riff. So this is actually the root note. It is identical to that note it plays here. Wrong solo. So the pitch is, cannot whistle really. So that's the root note. So that actually is an A sharp, and then the fifth below that, making it the basic fifth chord. And then we move on to this part where the filter closes all the way down. You can barely hear the part, but now there's this variation. I'll play the original. This hi-hat coming in. It takes a while before you start hearing the synth part here, which is now the sort of complex version of the one that was playing here in the brighter orange. You can hear it coming in now. And this is actually a chord progression. So, sorry for the singing. That's the root note, and then so that's a 1, 1, 4, 6. In a minor scale, I should say, if I'm correct. I mean, this is a lot of melody to handle for me as a techno producer, but it's a great melody, so that's why I like this track so much. So I just try to recreate this. Again, synth sound is of course not the same. I used operator for this and a filter. So you can see this top note, which is the root note, it always stays the same. And then it is alternating with these other ones. The first two bars, 2, 3, 4, that's that F, that's that fifth. And then it goes, so that is D sharp. So that is 2 steps later, so that's 2 steps lower, so that's the fourth chord. And then this one, the F sharp, 1 step above the fifth, so that will be the minor 6th, if I'm correct, which is a very dramatic sounding interval, which gives it this sort of very nice melancholic vibe, this track. Okay, so this goes on, the filter opens more. I'll go back to the original. We go into a long break here, starting with a high pass kick and sub. Synth is still opening up the filter, and now there's this new note. It's actually the same note as the ones here, but I gave it a different color because the timing is actually different. And now we're in this break. something subtle had to happen to the right. It actually became a pattern. I'll quickly draw it here. It was a regular pattern where you get every second eighth note, and now it's become a pattern with both, basically all eighth notes, I should say. So actually this is the wrong grid. Oh, it would be like this, which is funny because it's a breakdown and it sort of doubles the tempo of the right here. So, you can hear it going double tempo. These notes are repeated, and now there's a top layer added to this main synth. It sounds a little bit like a bit crushed or a sample rate reduction. No, bit crushed top layer. It could be a send effect on the main synth. It could be a separate part. I'm not sure, but you can hear it coming in here. It follows this riff. This high layer, sort of glassy sounding. And then there's this droning note, again the root note, but an octave higher than the riff here. So this is, and that would be, again, sorry for my singing, but very nice sort of sustained note in the background, rising up. You can hear it there. Get this white noise, short riser with a long tail again. And now we are back with the filter a little bit more closed again. Not much else happening, no rides, hats and everything. So sort of a fake out break, dry sort of, drop, fake out drop. So instead of having everything playing, it's just this sort of back to basics part here. And then 8 bars later, snapping sound, panning around is added. We don't get the timbale sound anymore. We get this white noise loop again. Later on, we get another one of these risers and the 8-note hi-hat. Now, I drew some automation here to signify the filter on the main synth opening and closing, but it's of course not exactly following what's happening in the track. Like I've said many times before, probably you should be doing automation by hand with the controller or on the synth, the hardware synth that you're using to get a more natural sound. I still sometimes fail to do this because it's just easier to draw something with a mouse, but for a more human feel, not sure whether Keith Carnal did it on this track, but a lot of good music has this hand automation, giving it a little bit more variety and human feel. Anyway, this part just sort of goes on the way it is, and then we get a little break again with the high pass on the kick and the sub. Again, this glassy top end is added to the main synth part with the 909. It's a little bit difficult to hear because the right is still going. Also in this break, you can hear there was this repeat again of the double tempo right. And this note is back, solitary echoing note. So that goes on a little bit, that note repeats every 4 bars, and then we come here again. This sustained root note, an octave higher, little break. Again, this same riser to signify the change here. The filter of the main synth is closing down. You can hear this repeating high note, which is the same as this drone, I think, but just shorter. That's it. And this loop with all the white noisy sort of sounds coming more to the forefront. And interestingly, at this end part here, this outro, adding the shaker to give a little bit more of a, what you call it, a quicker feel almost. Add some energy, even though this is the outro, which is a cool choice. So that the meat of the track, it's not there. It's more in the intro at the end and the outro. It's a long outro, it's basically all this, so that is 64 bars. Again, the white noise, the echoic notes, the main synth fading out, which means that this white noisy stuff, all this stuff happening, it's more to the foreground, and it's all sort of winding down, really taking his time here to sort of gradually lower the energy of the track, and we end with 8 bars of high pass, kick and bass, the crackle, the snaps, and also fading out this white noise, something like this. And the shaker also fading out. I drew that here. And that's it. That's this track. So, yeah, I really like this one. It has this really cool combination of a melodic, melancholic main synth with this shifting rhythm from this polymetric sub bass, basically I think a kick with a softer attack, and some nice details here and there to keep things interesting as always, because there is basically one theme, that's this riff, this chord progression. So the challenge is always to keep this interesting and hypnotic and danceable at the same time. And I think with this one, Keith Carnal has done a really great job. So that's why I like it, and I hope you like it too, or that it was useful at least to learn a little bit of arrangement techniques and actually some melody and harmony. We don't get that a lot with techno and stuff that I am usually showcasing on this channel. So anyway, that's it for today. Again, like and subscribe if you did like this and you want to see more. And I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.